Hello friends, and again I'm Robin the Dacha Builder. Today we will talk about the filling field. I have to do the self-leveling floor in the bathtub at the dacha. So I'm looking for information, collecting it, and I think it will be useful to you. What to which tool and which bags. Different manufacturers speak differently about their material. Who is the screed? Who is the leveler? Who is the self-leveling floor? Now we will figure out how to do it efficiently so as not to mess up, friends.
Poured floor is a polymer compound for rough or finish flooring. The advantages of a poured floor: in an even, seamless coating, the solution spreads smoothly over the surface under the weight of its own weight. The coating is as smooth as ceramic tile, but without joints. Poured floor is a polymer compound for rough or finish flooring. The advantages of a poured floor: in an even, seamless coating, the solution spreads smoothly over the surface under the weight of its own weight. The coating is as smooth as ceramic tile, but without joints. To pour the floor with your own hands, it is important to adhere to the rules of working with the solution. The base for the poured floor must be clean, dry, and without any visible defects. Preparation of the floor base depends on the material that will eventually be poured. Liquid solution. If the floor has ceramic tiles, it is not necessary to dismantle the base. Check each tile to see if it is properly held in place. If necessary, remove the tiles and fill the hole with concrete and putty. The concrete base also requires preparation. First of all, it is the removal of pits and cracks. Carry out restoration of the coating. Small cracks open with a grinder. Pour the cement, let dry. Remember that dryness, one of the key requirements for the base, so pour the floor after working with concrete is allowed no earlier than 28 to 30 days. Regardless of the base material, the prepared floor must be vacuumed, washed several times with water, let dry, then degrease and cover with a primer in several layers. When the primer on the base is dry, start the main work. Here are step-by-step instructions for pouring the floor. To avoid cracking of the coating as a result of the expansion of the material, lay a damping tape around the perimeter of the room. Use tape on a self-adhesive base. Prepare a solution of the filler floor, clearly following the instructions. Violating the proportions of water and mixture will cause damage to the final coating. Check the correct concentration of the solution is simple. Take a part of the pipe with a diameter and length of 5 centimeters each. Put the pipe on a flat surface, and pour to the top of the solution. It will flow out from under the pipe and spread over the surface. A properly prepared mortar will form a circle with a diameter of 16-18 centimeters. Start pouring the floor from the wall opposite the outlet. Level the coating with a wide trowel. The stronger the pressure on the trowel, the thinner the coating. Remember that the mixture dries quickly. Ready places do not need to be reworked, otherwise the floor will go lumpy. As a result of pouring, air bubbles form, which spoil the appearance and reduce the service life of the poured floor. To get rid of them, go over the surface with a special needle trowel. It pierces the coating, getting rid of air, and then the coating compares itself. Drying the floor will take from 2 hours to 1.5 days. Time depends on the temperature and humidity in the room. Take care to avoid drafts and exposure to sunlight during drying. Previously, leveling was done by one method, screeding with a semi-dry cement sand mixture. This took a lot of time and effort. Builders required serious practical skills. Now the industry produces new materials, levelers and self-leveling floors, not only facilitating the work, but also improving their quality. Let's break down what and how to make a poured floor, and what is the fundamental difference between the levelers and poured floors. Varieties of coating. Depending on the tasks to be solved and the thickness of the working layer, there are 3 types of coatings. Floor leveling. Basic levelers. They are used for large-scale works, to eliminate the slope of the surface or height differences, to hide communications. The average working layer for smoothing, from 50 millimeters. Such mixtures on the consistency of a rather thick and viscous, similar to the usual cement sand screed. They do not flow out on their own, they should be flattened and distributed with a rule and trowel if necessary. A typical representative is the basic trowel Weber. Vedinit 5700, but if you are pressed for time, you can use the rapid hardening composition Weber. Vedinit 5000. Universal self-leveling floors. Will help to increase the height of the floor and improve the quality of the surface. The very name of the material, self-leveling floor, directly indicates the characteristics of the increased flowability, in contrast to the basic self-leveling. Due to this material acquires a sour cream consistency and easily spreads over the entire surface of the floor, you only need to help a little and distribute the solution with a smooth trowel or needled roller. The average height of the working layer is 10 to 40 millimeters. The classic universal pouring floor is Weber. Vedinit Fast 4000, thin layer pouring floor, Weber. Vedinit 4100. If it is necessary to reduce the load on the flooring, to create a soundproofing floor or to repair a weak base with cracks and bitumen stains, it is worth preferring the fiber-reinforced floor Weber. Vedinit 4350. How to make a self-leveling floor. Finish pouring floors. Compounds with a minimum working layer of 0.5 to 10 mm are used to create a perfectly flat and smooth base. The amount of water for mixing the solution increases twice as much as the amount of water for mixing the evenness. The excellent flowability of the material reduces additional work to a minimum. A craftsman has only to tweak the result with a smooth steel trowel or a trowel blade. A needle roller is used if necessary. Weber. Vedinit 3100 is easy to work with and has excellent water and crack resistance. For jewelry work to create a perfectly smooth superfinish layer, the pouring floor Weber. Vedinit 3000. Prepare the tools. Consider the equipment for manual pouring, synthetic roller, used to apply the primer. The nap should be 12 to 14 millimeters. Trowel, used to apply the mixture in hard-to-reach places, such as under the radiators. Trowel will help evenly distribute the coating material. Needle roller removes air bubbles. Its moving part must be in tight contact with the surface. Container for mixing the mixture. Mixer or drill with an attachment for effective mixing of components. Flat shoes, a special sole for shoes covered with spikes. This soles do not leave traces on wet surface. Respirator protects your body from caustic fumes that emit mixtures for liquid flooring. Gloves will prevent contact of skin and material. The choice should be made on cotton gloves. Painting tape, glued on the perimeter at the bottom of the wall, protects the wall from adhesion to the material self-leveling coating. Duct tape protects the freshly applied coating from dust. It should be applied to untreated walls. You will need a brush, a wide smooth trowel, width from 60 centimeters, a needle roller, a drill with a mixer attachment, a container for the solution, at least 60 liters. Before pouring the filler floor, clean the substrate from construction dirt and dust. Prime the surface. To apply the primer, it is recommended to use an ordinary brush, which we use to wash the floors. This will ensure good penetration of the primer into the substrate, will equalize the absorbency of the base. It is recommended to primer at least 2 layers. When repriming, the brush should move in a direction perpendicular to the already applied layer. Allow the primer to dry completely. According to the instructions, prepare the mortar by first filling with water and then adding the dry mixture. Attention! Strictly observe the proportions of mixing with water. Carefully control the consistency of the mortar, it should not separate. Do not work at high mixer speed, 400 to 600 RPM, such mode creates a lot of air bubbles. Smoothing the self-leveling floor. Filling begin from the window of the room towards the door. Pour the mixture and distribute evenly over the entire surface of the floor. When working with the poured floor, you should consider the life of the cured mortar. On average, it is 30 minutes. Therefore, carry out the work quickly and very carefully control the consistency of the solution. Make sure that the poured floor mortar does not separate. Measure the amount of water per bag. This has a negative effect on all the operational parameters of the coating, namely cracking and peeling of the floor. As Weber. Vedinit 3000 is a superfinish material and is applied in a very thin layer of 0.5 to 5 millimeters. The material itself will not level out completely. It is best to do this with a wide, smooth trowel, gently and carefully smoothing and distributing the material over the floor surface, simultaneously adjusting the thickness of the poured layer. Pros and cons of the poured floor. The advantages of poured floors include the following properties. Chemical inertness, water resistance. Such floors can withstand contact with water. Speed of work. The material is easy to spread and leveled. Universality. Poured floors can be poured in layers from 5 to 40 millimeters, leveling significant irregularities and immediately receiving a high-quality surface for laying virtually any floor covering. Like all building materials, poured floors have not only strengths, but also weaknesses. Difficulty of dismantling. This disadvantage is a consequence of the advantages. The floors have high rates of adhesion to concrete bases and great mechanical strength. Accordingly, it is difficult to detach them from the base and break them into small pieces for removal. Pouring over large areas requires special tools and equipment. Even minor violations of technology can have critical negative consequences. With their own hands, pouring the floor must be done extremely carefully. Be sure to follow the step-by-step instructions. Application of liquid flooring in questions and answers. How to calculate the amount of consumption of screed floor. The amount of the pouring floor is calculated by multiplying the area of the room by the average thickness of the floor pouring and the consumption of the mixture per 1 square meter. The material consumption per square meter is always indicated on the package. How thick should the pouring floor be? The permissible thickness of the layer is usually 5 to 40 millimeters. Superfinished floors can be applied to a thickness of 0,5-5 mm. How to dilute the filler floor correctly. Follow all the manufacturer's recommendations on the package. The most important nuance: do not allow an overdose of water, which leads to delamination of the solution, reducing the strength of the floor and the formation of cracks. How to mix a self-leveling floor. It is most convenient to stir the mortar with a mixer nozzle for 2 to 3 minutes at moderate engine speed. Stirring by hand is more time-consuming, and thus reduces the already short time of using the mixture, 15 to 30 minutes from the moment of mixing with water. How to evenly pour the screed floor. For the screed to be even, it is necessary to help the poured floor evenly spread over the surface. For this purpose, use reference beacons, rockula, or a smooth steel trowel. You can also use a needle roller to accelerate the spreading. How to dry the screed floor. Drying will accelerate and be more even if during the entire period, to keep the temperature at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius without sharp changes, humidity 55 to 60%, and avoid direct sunlight. Forced drying of the self-leveled floor is impossible. How long does the self-leveling floor dry? It takes 3 to 4 hours to walk on the self-leveling floor. Installation of floor coverings depends on the type of material and type of floor covering. Tiles can be laid earlier, 5 to 7 days. It is necessary to dry out the screed, 14 to 21 days, before laying linoleum and carpeting. How to fix a screed floor. Bubbles and swellings are removed by sanding followed by polishing. Cracks are filled with quick drying repair compositions. Dried out because of drafts or too high temperatures, the top layer should be completely removed by grinder, and then level out superfinished screed floor. How to correct irregularities in the screed floor. If there are protrusions and depressions, it is wise to pour another thin layer of superfinish filler floor. The highest bumps are ground beforehand, and the deepest holes, beforehand puttying the same superfinish composition. How to remove the old screed. Removing the screed floor, a long, time-consuming, and expensive process, so in any case, it is worth preferring to dismantle the removal of defects. If this is not possible, screed with a thickness of more than 30 mm remove perforator with nozzles, chisel, scalpel and saw, pre-cut into segments with a grinder, thinner coatings removed mosaic grinding machine or grinder with a grinder disc.